Hi there. Welcome, Melissa Costello, coach,
Hi.
speaker, and author. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Great. Can you please tell us about yourself and your story and how you got into this work?
Absolutely. Well, my story is a little bit of a long one, so I'll keep it really short. But
Mhm.
basically, it started as a teenager when my body started changing, and there was a lot of different layers of that. But I had a lot of body image stuff going on, and what that resulted in was me restricting my food and dieting and over exercising. And I was always an athlete growing up, and so I wasn't overweight, but I had a lot of body image issues, and so I was always fighting to have my body look a certain way.
Mm.
And then as I got a little bit older, nutrition and health became really, really important to me because I was also, not only did I have all this body image stuff going on, but I was also really sick as a kid because I was raised on the standard American diet. I was a total sugar addict.
Mm.
I just really had a lot of issues with food and overeating and all that stuff. And so I got really involved in nutrition and health, and I was learning my father was a chef, and so I was always cooking. And so when I got in my late teens, early 20s, I gave up eating meat and I started to really dive into the world of nutrition. And it was just kind of another way I controlled my food around my body image stuff, which I didn't know at the time. I just thought I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to eat healthy. And so, but it was just another avenue for me to kind of control what was going on with my body. And so I got into working as a nutritionist. I created online cleanses. I was cooking for Tony Horton, who created P90X. I was a private chef at the time. And I really was involved in being a vegan and plant-based eating. And that really worked well for me because it actually helped me get over a lot of these illnesses I had as a child. And so through the veganism, I healed a lot of, irritable bowel syndrome and migraine headaches and all of that stuff that really riddled me as a kid. And so anyway, here we are, fast forward. I went through many years of just beating myself up, dieting, restricting, overeating, binge eating. And that's really why I do the work I do now, is because I was strictly doing nutrition, but I found that there were most people know how to eat, but there's something that stands in the way of them being consistent. And then there's people who are gaining weight and not really understanding why. And what I really found out was there was a lot of emotional eaters out there, and I was definitely one of them.
Mhm.
And so I had to really heal that part, my relationship with food, my relationship with myself. And so now I'm doing that work with people because I find that it's not really about the food. It's about our behaviors and our beliefs. And so that's where we have to start with the healing.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
there's a couple of things that you said that I want to go back and touch on.
Great.
The body image issue.
Yes.
It's a plague. What's happening? Why?
Gosh, so mine started when I was probably 10, 11, 12. And the way it started for me, my first memory is from the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition.
I,
Because the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, I grew up in the 80s, was 70s and 80s, was like the big event of the year in my house. I had two older brothers. I had a father. Like, they would literally wait by the mailbox for this bathing suit edition to come in. And I was excited about it too, because I would look at these women and think, oh my God, I want to look like them. I want my body to look like them. They must have the best life in the world, right? And so much of it is what we see in the media. It's cultural. Dieting is so cultural, right? We're told not to accept our bodies as they are. We have to look a certain way. It's very cookie cutter, and it's just not realistic for everyone, right? And but the diet industry tells us that, we like one diet fits all, and that's just not true. And so, yeah, it is a plague. And so many women struggle. I mean, over 90% of women struggle with body image or hating their bodies or not liking what they see in the mirror, and luckily we're shining more light on it now. There's more of the body positivity movement coming out. There's more self-acceptance, but it is, I mean, for me, it's been a really long road and a painful one.
yeah, it's such a
Yeah.
conundrum between the standard American diet and what we're offered to
Yes.
eat and what
Right.
that does to one's body, and then being
Totally.
expected to look a certain way also. It's like
Right.
there's no guidance as to how to live a healthy lifestyle and to be happy and in tune with what your body wants. There's no model.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
They're starting to be, but
yeah. And there's so many different kinds of diets out there. And I also find that detrimental because people hear these things like carbs are bad, right? Or don't eat past 8 o'clock, or there's all these kind of rules around dieting. And what that does is it disconnects us from trusting the wisdom of our bodies, which our bodies know. It's just that we've become so out of touch with our body's wisdom.
yeah.
And so, and so even though there is guidance now out there around, like, this is how to eat healthy, all these different diets, they're confusing people even more, and so people feel lost and confused.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm curious about your illnesses. What did you say that you suffered from? And
Yeah.
you were young?
So I had irritable bowel syndrome. I had migraine headaches. I also had yearly bouts, like many times a year, bouts of strep throat and pink eye. And so I had a lot of just stuff going on. And some of it came from stress in my household growing up. I had an alcoholic father. And so like there was all that stress going on. And then my diet was complete crap. I was raised on processed food and sugar and all that stuff. And so although we did have a home cooked meal every night, every other meal was just about, like just processed. Really. And so I think that contributed to a lot of what was happening with my health.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about stress. So I know this. I don't think that everybody knows this, that the more stressed we are, the less our body is willing to let go of excess weight because it's holding
Absolutely.
on for the famine,
Yes. Yeah.
How much is this a part of your practice?
I definitely work with my clients on handling stress in their lives. It's really, really important. And I think in today's day and age, we're stressed more than ever because there's so many things coming at us all the time. Our brain just is not built to process all this information coming at us. We're on the cell phone, we're on the computer, we're on our iPads, we're binge watching Netflix for hours at a time. I mean, there's so much like available all the time and no one knows how to just be anymore. And so there's this constant like doing all the time, and our bodies are in this overload mode, and so it's, part of my practice really is teaching people how to have more ritual in their lives where they have more downtime, where they have more deep self-care. Self-care is such it's becoming more mainstream now and a little bit cliche in a way, but it's so important. And really taking care of yourself on a deep level. And that doesn't mean like checking out in front of the TV and relaxing and drinking a glass of wine. It's much deeper than that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, let's talk. So the title of this masterclass is Gain Clarity in Your Purpose.
Yes.
Can you tell me how making space and ridding oneself of the obsession with every calorie and turning to food opens up possibilities to gain clarity in your purpose?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's huge. Janine Roth, who is a woman who's a pioneer in this work that I do, she wrote a book called Women, Food, and God, among many others. And she said, there was a quote I read yesterday about there's a whole universe to discover between the emptiness you feel inside and how you're going to fill it with, how you're looking to fill it with food. And just that there's this whole place inside of you that needs to be discovered. And so many of us are so afraid of it. And so we use food to really push those feelings down or keep ourselves small or keep ourselves safe away from, really stepping into our greatness or our purpose, and I feel like for me on my journey, that so much of that was happening too, where all of my struggles with food and my body image really kept me from discovering like what my full purpose was. And it wasn't until I started addressing the food and the body stuff that I was like, whoa, this is, like health and nutrition and working with the behaviors around food. This is really my purpose. And I feel like we all have a purpose inside of us, and it doesn't mean it needs to be our career or what we do for a living, right? It could be being an incredible friend. It could be being an awesome parent. It could be being of service in some way in your life. And so, but I think we all have these kind of inner voices, inner critic, these saboteurs that kind of hold us back from really stepping into our purpose. And so if we're willing to face those things and have the courage to face, what is holding us back, I think that we can start to get more clarity around what our real purpose is. And so I love that you're doing this, because I feel like so we all have a purpose, but so many of us are disconnected from it. Also, just because we let life on us, like instead of being intentional about the way we live in this like constant chaos of, I just got off a call with a client today who's just like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. I'm busy. I'm this. Like, it's just so much going on all the time. And I'm like, you have to really step back and be intentional about the way you're living. Otherwise, life's going to pass you by and you're not going to feel like you accomplished anything or anything that feels of value to you.
Would you tell us a little bit of how you work with your clients and some of the technique? I don't want you to give away all your secrets, but
Yes.
Some of the processes how you work with your clients.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of my clients, when they come to me, they often think it is about the food. And so my first real step is like, this is not about the food. This is about us kind of looking at where your beliefs and your behaviors are coming from. And so, the first thing I always do is I really look at where they're out of balance in their lives, like what areas in their lives are they out of balance, and like where they most need to be fed. And a lot of times it's self-care, self-compassion, stress management. Like I really look at their lives as a whole. It's never just about like the food and the body. It's really looking at things holistically. And so that's really where I start, because I want to get an overall view of their life, like even what their relationships are like, because I feel like that's so important. Like I've had a lot of people come to me who they have, tumultuous relationships and the food is the thing that soothes them, or the food is the thing they use to kind of comfort themselves because of these relationships, And so it's important for me to really see the bigger picture. And also what I do is I start to look at where did their belief systems come from around food in their body, right? So like I shared mine came from Sports Illustrated, seeing my brothers and my father like ogle over these Sports Illustrated models. And then my mother probably she didn't feel good about her body. And she was always kind of criticizing herself. And so it was modeled to me. And so like, it's about looking at where did these behaviors come from? What are the decisions you made about yourself, right? Because we all make decisions about ourselves at a certain age. And then how we can start to rewire the brain to shift that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah. It's really fun and intense.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just remembering, like taking that in a little bit in my own experience. And I remember my mom always saying how she was so fat. Oh, I'm so fat. And she became really obese later, but at the time she wasn't really
right.
so fat. And I remember going to school and saying to some other kid how fat I was, when I was like 8 years old. I didn't even know what that meant yet, but right. I was already modeled that and reproducing it even before I knew what it meant.
Yeah. And you have a mother who's never satisfied with her body, right? Like she's never satisfied, no matter, even back then when she was probably not fat at all and thin, she still was never satisfied. And my mother was the same way. I mean, she never felt satisfied. She didn't like her legs and she used to cover them all the time. And so like I grew up hating my legs and thinking my legs were not like that, they didn't look good, or, and so just all this stuff was modeled to me and I made decisions based on that, and that's what we do as kids, because we're so malleable and pliable. Like we just take these things in as our truth, and they're not truths, they're just beliefs. Right. So, but yeah, I feel like we all, I have a client with she grew up with a really, really obese mother who was bedridden and depressed, and she had to take care of her. Like she had to be the adult and the parent, and that has like really followed her into her adulthood, which is, and so we're working to really undo all of that and really heal that part of herself so that she can live the rest of her life in a peaceful way,
Can you describe the inner feeling for yourself and like the transformations that your clients go through in being able to experience life more fully and openly through this process?
Such a great question. I mean, the one word, the first thing that came to my mind was freedom. It's like, because when I think back to my journey, I felt literally like I was imprisoned by the constant negativity, the constant thoughts about food, the constant restriction, like never feeling good about my body or what I was eating. And I was in fear all the time. And so when I started to shift all of that, and it was over a period of time, it didn't happen, like all at once. It was definitely an event. Like it was a total, not an event, but a process.
Mm-hmm.
And so but I remember like little at moments going, oh, wow, I didn't do that thing I normally do, and then I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. And then it was just like, I started to feel this sense of freedom and also this sense of like being able to trust myself.
Yes.
Which feels like super comforting within itself. It's like, oh, I can trust myself. Like, I don't feel out of control. I feel like I have a choice. Like I talk a lot about choice, not control. It's not about having control. It's about choosing and trusting yourself enough in the moment to choose. So freedom is really the one word that I can think of that a lot of my clients and myself feel around this particular, food and body stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Such a great question.
Great. And how can people work with you? How do people find you?
Yeah, my website is called Karma Chow, KarmaChow.com. I do one-on-one coaching. There's information. I offer breakthrough sessions. If someone wants to get on the phone and just talk about where they are and what they're struggling with, it's really like a coaching breakthrough session. And I offer those for free. It's on my website. I'm also super excited because I'm hosting an equine therapy retreat this weekend in Malibu. Yeah. So we're going to be it's a half-day retreat in Malibu, California, and we're doing some work with horses and women around their bodies and food and all that. And it's just going to be such a beautiful day. So I'm like super excited about that. And I'll be doing more of that in the future. And hopefully like weekend long and then week long, I want to build on that. So, but Karma Chow is the place. I have cookbooks, I have recipes, I have all kinds of great blogs about emotional eating, binge eating, all that stuff. So that's where people can find me.
Awesome. Can we elaborate on the horses a little bit? Can you tell us more about how that works?
Yeah. So horses are, because they are prey animals and they are so in tune to their surroundings and the energy of people and nature. And so what they do is they provide it's basically a mirror for us. Like they are so sensitive that they can really sense what's happening inside of us. And so through what we do, it's called a discovery dialogue. We really look to the horse as a mirror for what's happening inside of us and how we can get in tune, because a lot of people aren't attuned with that, and so it's about how we can get attuned with that and really looking to the horse to help us connect to ourselves and help us see ourselves in a different light and to help us kind of let go of, there's such present, all animals are present, but there's no judgment. There's no, it's pure unconditional energy. And so it's really about looking to them to mirror that to us so that we can start to feel that within ourselves and really let go of any blocks that we have. So it's a really, really powerful process. It's even hard to put words to. It's like just being there and witnessing it is just such an incredible experience.
Oh, cool. When did you start working with horses? Have you always been a rider?
It's funny because I've loved horses ever since I was a kid. My mom was a veterinary technician, and so I was around horses. We never really had the money though for me to take horseback riding lessons or get involved in it, and so I rode randomly. It was very random, but for me, it's not even about the riding. It's about the horse and the connection. I don't really care about getting on a horse's back. I'd rather just hang out in an arena with them, And so I've always loved them. And I started doing some I'm working in partnership with an equine guided educator. And so she's going to be doing a lot of the horse work. I do have some experience in this area. So, and just as a coach and all the work that I do. But I'm looking to get more training in that so I can continue to build on it. But horses, I've always been very deeply connected to them. So I just thought, my gosh, like they've provided so much healing for me in my life. And so I would love to be able to bring that to other people.
That's wonderful. I
Yeah, I'm
would
super
love
excited.
to do that.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm super excited. You'll have to come to one of the retreats.
I will. I think I will. That's amazing.
Good.
Uh,
Awesome.
Thank you, Melissa Costello, Karma Chow. Go
Yes.
find her. She has awesome recipes and all kinds of fun stuff in addition to the coaching information. Thank you so much
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad you're doing this.
have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.